Hello guys, so we are back and this is the second and final part where we will talk about for loops. So especially for the beginners, for loops are a little bit tricky to understand, especially nested for loops. So that's the reason why I'm making this second part for loops. And in this video, I will try to write down two a little bit tricky programs where I will try to help you develop that programming way of thinking. So in the last video, we need to make a program which will, for example, if the user types in 4, it needs to print out this. But in this program, for example, if the user types in 4, the program needs to print this out. So it's going to be reverse. So in the first row, it needs to have n, for example, if the user types in n, number n. In the first row, the program needs to print out n stars. Okay, so I'm gonna make a variable n and then printf, type in some number, scanf %d, and place that to n. Okay, so the first for loop I will use to get me always in the next line. So int row, I'll set it to 1, and it needs to go all the way until row is smaller or equal to n, because in that way I will have n rows actually, because if the user types in 4, we're gonna get from 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4, and then the program will exit this for loop when the row is incremented to 5. This condition here will not be true and the program will exit this for loop, and here row plus plus, of course. And then we have these curly brackets, and right now I'll just printf \n first because we use it for that, and then above that I'll type my second for loop, which I will use to print out stars, so like this. And now the question is this help variable, which is I, how to set it, which value to give to that I. Okay, so right now I'll show you that you can use here also decrement operator. So basically you can use any expression that has sense. And for example, if the user types in 4, then we need to print this out. So in the first row, we need to have 4 stars. So if I set this I variable to n, for example, and let's say that I will always use decrement operator, so I minus minus, then here it needs to go all the way to 0, but not including 0. So I is bigger than 0. And then in the first row here, n is going to be 4. In that iteration, we're going to have 1 star. Then when n is 3, second star, n is 2, third star, n is 1, fourth star, and then n is 0. This condition right here won't be true. The program will exit this for loop. But in the next iteration, row will have the value of 2. And here we're gonna have this I again set to 4, and it will print out again 4 stars. And we can use this formula. So if we use it like this, then here we're gonna get for a problem immediately in the first iteration, because we're gonna get 3 stars only, because I is gonna be set to 3 in the first iteration of this for loop. I'll just run this now to show you what do we get when we run this program. I will comment this out. And if we type in 4, for example, as you can see, we get this. So actually, we always get 1 star less, and that's a problem. So we'll just use here +1. So in the first iteration, when row is 1, then we're going to have here, for example, if the user types in 4, we're going to have 4 minus 1 is 3, and then +1 is 4. So we're going to have 4 star. In the second iteration of this loop, when we get inside of the nested for loop, then the row is going to have value 2, and then we're going to have 4 minus 2 plus 1, which is going to be 3. So this way the program will work. And actually I want to show you here that you can that you can use only I here, because whenever I is higher than 0, it's bigger than 0, the value of this is true, and this printf will actually happen. And once the I get the value of 0, then this expression here won't be true, and the program will exit this for loop. So you can use only I here instead of I is higher than 0. It's kind of easier and smaller. Okay, so if we run this program now and type in 4, as you can see, we get the results that we want. Okay, I will show you how to do this in another way when we're using increment operator right here. It's again possible to do it that way too, but then we're gonna set this I to 1, just like in the last video, but then we need to change this. We need to think, how far will this I go? So in the first iteration, it needs to go until 4. If we use this, it will go until 4. But in the second iteration, it will go until 4 again. So it's going to be a problem. Right now, if we run this and we type in 4, as you can see, we always get 4 stars. Because I is always going to go until this number, the number that user types in. So we need to change that every time. And we're going to use again this variable row that changes from row to row, and we're gonna type in -row. Then we're gonna get 3 stars here when we run this, and if we type in 4, we're gonna get 3 stars, then 2, then 1, and then none, as you can see. So here in the 4th row we don't have anything, but we can always type in here +1, and if we run this now and type in 4, the results are good. Okay, so that's all about this program. Right now we're gonna do a little harder program. So we actually need to get this pyramid. We actually need to get this pyramid. So like this, it needs to look like this: 1, 1, 2, 1. But then this needs to go here, and then like this: 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. And then, for example, if the user types in 4, this is the pyramid that he needs to get at the end. And it's a little tricky to do this program because it's consisted of much different parts. So we have these blank places, then we have these ascending numbers, then we have these descending numbers. So actually in this program we're going to use 4 for loops. So yes, 4 for loops. Okay, so the start of the program is the same. Okay, so again, the first for loop we're going to use 4 rows. So the variable will be named by that, and row, it's going to be set to 1, and then again it goes all the way until it's smaller or equal to n, and then row plus plus. So right now we open these curly brackets, and this is where magic happens. So the first part are these blank spaces, so we need to make them first. As you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3 blank spaces. In the second row we have 2 blank spaces, in the third row we have 1 blank space, and in the fourth row and final row we don't have any blank spaces. If we are finding the logic for this, the user typed in 4 in the first row, it has 1 blank space less than the number that user typed in. So here it would be logical to make a for loop which will go from int I is 1, and then it needs to go in the first row, it needs to go n minus 1. In the second row, 4 minus 2. So it needs to have 2 blank spaces. In the third row, it needs to go 4 minus 3 because it's third row. So you get the logic. In the fourth row, we don't get any blank spaces, so 4 minus 4. And we're going to use that like this. So I goes, we increment I all the way until it's smaller or equal to n minus row. Okay, so when we check that out, actually in the first row we're gonna have 3 because 4 minus 1 is 3. In order for that to work, we need to have I++ here, and we need to have here printf and just a space. So this is for blanks. I'll just comment here so you can understand it. So now we're making a for loop for the second part, and the second part are these ascending numbers. So they go in the first row we have 1, then in the second row we have 1, 2, in the third row we have 1, 2, 3, in the fourth row we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So every time these ascending numbers are finishing with the number, and that number, the last number, is equal to the number of that row. So right now, and we're gonna set it to 1 again. The logic behind this is that I goes every time to the number of that row. So if we're in 5th row, this for loop needs to print out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I is smaller or equal to row. And then here we have again I++. So this is for the ascending numbers. And we need to print f %d from this I. The third part are these descending numbers. So this for loop, we need to set this I. So in the first row, we don't have any descending numbers because this one is actually a part of ascending numbers. The second part goes until here. And the third part in the first row doesn't have anything. So actually in the second row, it has 1. In the third row, it has 2 and then 1. So the first number every time is a number which is for 1 smaller than the number of that row. So I'll set this I to row -1. So here we use the logic that the last number in this part in these descending numbers is actually always 1. So whenever I gets the value 1, you need to print that I, and once it's 0, you don't need to print 0. Okay, so that's again, so while I is higher than 0, you print these numbers out. Once it's 0, exit this for loop. Just like I've said it before, we can use only I here because once I is 0, that's going to be false, and whenever it's different from 0, it's going to be true. So that's pretty much the same, just like I is higher than 0. And we use I minus here, of course. So this is for descending numbers. Okay, and we need to print f %d from this I. And the thing that we cannot forget is this printf \n, which is actually a part of the first for loop, and it's not a part of any of these 3 for loops. So right now, I will comment this out with my shortcut, Control, Shift, and C, and then I'll run this program. And for example, if I type in 5, as you can see, this triangle is good. Okay. The problem that we might have is this one. For example, if you type in some 2-digit number, for example, let's say 13. As you can see, this triangle is not okay. And actually, we can fix this problem by typing here I, then the module operator, and 10. And again here, the module operator and 10. That will help us, that will make this program always have 1-digit numbers inside of this pyramid, inside of this triangle. So if we type in 15 right now, this triangle will still look okay. So this program is a little bit tricky. Maybe it would be good for you to listen to this video one more time, just to make sure you get all things. So every time you get some assignment, you get some program that you need to make, especially something that's like this, that's a little tricky, these pyramids and these shapes, always look for the parts of that shape. So I found 3 parts right here. I'll actually decomment this out so you can see it better. I found these blank spaces and I made one for loop for that. Then I found these ascending numbers and one loop for that. and then descending numbers, and I made one for loop for that too. So always try to find these parts of that shape. It's going to be easier for you to think in that way, and often you're going to find a solution for your problem a lot easier. That would be pretty much it for this video. In the next video, I will actually talk about continue and go to statements. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel too, and put the notification bell on as well because we upload daily. And thank you for watching. See you next time.